what's been happening.
You're so popular.
I don't know about popular, but yes, at least the thing is that people have got interested and involved. And as the symposium comes to an end, more people want to get involved. But then I decided, let's have a closing date. Otherwise, I would have extended it, but the World Mediation Conference have coming up. I have to spend time on that and something on the World Mediation Circle. So that part of it. Otherwise, I'm telling you, we should to get the situation in various countries should have happened. With only 30 countries, it should have been 60. But there has to be some cutoff kind of thing. And I think the thought process coming out is quite similar. And I think we've got a mix of whatever. But that's going to happen, Ruzanna. But you are going to come in after about 30 seconds because I have to put up what we are doing and then we get you in and about yourself. So this is what we are doing. Mediation legislation, the how, what, when, where, which, who, why of it. And of course, Ruzanna from Kazakhstan is going to tell us about herself. There have been, what, 50 plus speakers, but now this is 30 countries. Okay, it's not 30 plus because there was one person from one country. He landed up only 5 minutes before his session was supposed to end. Imagine, no message, nothing. So I had to cut off his name also, the country also. So it became 30 because I found that very a serious issue. Can you imagine your session is there and you don't even send a message and I'm waiting and there might be people waiting to watch it live also. I found a little insensitive, but whatever, I don't know, whatever
How
reasons.
do you find all these people? I even didn't know before I met you that we have so many mediators in so many countries.
Look, the thing is, first of all, look, one issue is that I'm looking at people and looking at social media posts, and I'm of course finding people there. What about all those people who are not on social media? Now I have to go out there and find those people, which is what we have to do. We have to go out and get people, like if we're looking at Kazakhstan, we'll get those people in. Of course, a lot of people are not active on social media, but they shouldn't be left out of our circle. So of course,
Mhm.
that is going to
So
happen.
you have to make an expedition to different countries,
Exactly. I'm
live
also planning that.
live expedition to find mediators.
Yeah, exactly. Come to Kazakhstan, sit there. The conferences and symposia can happen sitting there. Now it's all what just internet connectivity required. So sit there, get everyone together, and of course go out and set up these circles in the organization, community. Good idea, Zana. That's what's going to happen now. It's a damn good idea. Get base, set up a base for some time in some place and just do that. But Rosanna, first, of course, you have to tell us about yourself, and then we'll go into the topic.
Okay. Once again, yes. So one more time about myself. every time about myself. Oh, okay. What can I tell? My name is Ruzanna Yessentemirova. I'm mediator from Kazakhstan, and I've been a head of a center for mediation for a year or even more. Now I'm a deputy head because I'm very busy to coordinate center. I also work with legislation, mediation legislation. I've been a member of different working groups on amending of legislation in Kazakhstan. So I used to work with the Senate and our government. And I also teach mediation. I'm a trainer of mediators, and I also teach mediation at the university. It's at the moment I teach at the state agency, which the state agency who teach state workers, government workers. So I also teach mediation there. Um, this is it, I think.
There's lots more, but the thing is, whatever comes out from that is that Rosanna is really busy, and that's good, but it's also not so good for me because definitely there is so much that we have to do. But I mean, what you're doing is so important that to say that you should be looking at what things that I'm doing. But of course, we need more time with you. But Rosanna, but okay, let's just hit the topic. Then I don't want to get into talking about how to find information. I do put up my website for people to look at. I think I'll just say go to mediatorvikram.com, find information there. That's easy because your thoughts on legislation really important and you'll be working on it. So please, mediation legislation, all the questions behind it.
Okay. What can I tell you? So maybe let's start from the very beginning. The mediation law was adopted in 2011 here in Kazakhstan. At the same year, the decree on approval of the rules for the passage of training under the training program for mediators was adopted. And but the mediation didn't work at this time. So only in 2013, hundreds of professional mediators were trained in the region. And it was within the framework of a joint project for the development of the mediation by UNDP and the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court kind of helped to improve mediation here. Also in 2013, was creation of the first organizations for mediators, and we have kind of statistics that by the end of 2013, here in Kazakhstan were about 27 organizations of mediators. And then after that, in 2014, several laws were adopted. A new criminal code was adopted, and mediation began to be applied for misdemeanors. Am I pronounce it right? Misdemeanors, like minor crimes and crimes for medium gravity. So it's possible here in Kazakhstan to mediate minor crimes and crimes of medium gravity. Also, changes have been made to the marriage and matrimony code, and mediation began to be applied for the division of property, accommodation, and joint upbringing of children. So what else? As I said previously, that Supreme Court was kind of responsible for improving mediation. So at this year, 2014, a pilot project of the Supreme Court also was adopted, and the introduction of conciliation procedures with the participation of a judge into civil procedures were adopted. So we started conciliator judges this year, and they started like conducting mediations at the court. And then later, in 2017, one more pilot project of Supreme Court was adopted on the introduction of pretrial settlement of disputes in the manner of mediation in certain cases, like child custody, alimony, divorce and division of property, inheritance disputes between neighbors, eviction, loan agreements, insurance, and labor. So mediation became to be more popular because in courts, judges started to force. It's not the right way to say force. Like, let's say it's forced. They just asked people to go to conciliator judge or to mediator to try to mediate their case. What else? In 2019, the Singapore Convention were signed by Kazakhstan. And also in 2020, the new administrative code of procedure was adopted, and mediation became possible with administrative bodies and officials who issued an administrative decision. But this kind of mediation is allowed and is possible only in administrative court. And this kind of mediation only judge conciliator can conduct. So just professional mediators are not allowed to do this mediation. And we also ratified Singapore Convention in 2022. So this is some facts about our history, if it's interesting and important.
Brief overview. Now, the brief overview is going to get into more detailed information, because how it's working. Because when you talk about organizations were set up, what is the criteria for setting them up? What is the criteria to be a mediator? All that. Ruzanna, there are lots. This is not going to be so easy.
I can speak hours and hours then.
We want you to.
Okay, let me tell you what kind of what types of mediations is allowed here in Kazakhstan. This is all the family conflicts, like property division, determination of the place of residence of children, and order of meetings with them, alimony issues, inheritance, conflicts with relatives, different labor disputes, all commercial disputes, school conflicts also. What else? Disputes and conflicts in healthcare, criminal offenses and crimes, as I told you. Also mediation is possible at the execution stage, like when we have court decision. So then goes execution stage, and still parties can conduct mediation, can have mediation procedure and conclude mediation agreement. We call it here mediation agreement, but actually in English it's the right way to say settlement agreement. Let's say settlement agreement. So parties can have settlement agreement even at the stage of execution of the court order. All other types of civil disputes and even administrative offenses. So, and mediation is prohibited in several cases with third parties, then with a person who is declared incompetent by the court, and in criminal cases on corruption offenses and other crimes against the interests of the public service and public administration, and in grave and especially grave criminal cases, mediation is prohibited.
But Ruzanna, when you say that prohibited with third parties, what is that?
It means that if mediation okay, let me explain. For instance, two parties came to you and want to settle something, and their issue touched the interests of third party who is not here, who is not in mediation, who even doesn't know about this case. So I have to say no and not to work with this case because it touched the interest of the third party.
Perfect. Yeah, makes sense. Obviously.
Yes, and we also have some peculiarities, like here, special for Kazakhstan. For instance, professional. We have three types of mediators, so to say: professional mediator, then public mediator, and conciliator judge, or judge mediator, we call it. And For instance, public mediator, this is a person who is over 40 years old, who doesn't have to have special education like mediator, and who should be in the register of our, we call it Akim, how it's in English, sorry, like mayor of the city. And these public mediators, they are in the register of mayor of the city. But professional mediators, they are persons who is 25 years old and over. Professional mediators have to have high education, but doesn't matter what high education, any high education. They don't have to be lawyers or psychologists and so on. Also, professional mediators became retired judges. If the judge has retired, he can be a professional mediator without any education. Just retired judge means professional mediator if he wants. It's strange, but it's like this. And about our education, mediators have 3 stages of education here. I mean, professional mediators. We have 50-hour course. This is general course for mediator. Who has passed general course can work as a mediator and can work on any cases. It doesn't matter what kind of type of mediation. Then if mediator wants to improve himself, he also can pass one more 50-hour course, and the name of the course is special course. So in this special course, we have different specializations. So we study family mediation, we study crime mediation, and so on. And the last stage is a 32-hour course. This is course for trainer of mediators. So if you want to be a trainer of mediators, you have to pass the first course, general, then the second special course, and after that, 32-hour course.
There's an important thing at this stage is to be a trainer for the 30-hour course. What is the requirement for that?
To be the trainer.
How did it start? Because the point is that once you have the first course, then you have trainers, and then those trainers train other people. I'm sure it worked. But how did it start? How did that first batch of 32-hour course, who conducted that? How did it start?
You know what? A couple of months ago, I had the same question, and the guy from ministry called me and said, "Hey, who was the first mediator in Kazakhstan?" And I should say that I had the same question many years ago when I started. Actually, I don't know the right answer, but I can I can guess that some people in 2010, when they were starting thinking about mediation, they got education abroad, because my teacher who teach me mediation, she was abroad, and she said that she got mediation education in United States, then in London, as far as I remember. And she had an idea to have mediation here in Kazakhstan. And then she was a speaker of Senate, and she suggested this law. So that's why I can guess that she was maybe the first one who started to teach people, but no one knows.
Because look, for me, the problem is the colonization of mediation. because okay, I'm sure the US, I'm sure they have courses which must be good and everything, but I'm sure there is a certain aspect of Kazakhstan which has to come in, and I'm sure there were some ways to bring in those people who would bring in that culture, that what connects with people. Because what is really happening is that then you create a certain kind of mediation with coming from somewhere else, and does it finally connect with the people the way people understand that mediation is like clinical? One becomes a clinical process, one is becomes a connecting to people process. I don't know, I mean, I'm just thinking, I mean, look, we're just throw, I mean, I also won't say that there is any answer to it, but that's the way it's flowing, and one box starts from somewhere and no one questions that box, and oh, this has come from the US. Is it really working in the US the way we would want it to work? I mean, that's what I've been discussing through this symposium and earlier ones, that dig a little deeper into the US and finally, is there activity on the ground, or is it a court related activity? So we need to, and is it a lawyer controlled activity? Because that's not the way I would want mediation to go in any country. It has to be people wanting to do it and creating a whole movement around it, maybe. I don't know. So thoughts. I should not interrupt, Rosanna, please.
No, it's okay. It's interesting conversation. I was thinking about it also, but you see, this is a mystery here around this question. What else? What else? So about our peculiarities, like according to our legislation, yes, we have no single organization or union for mediators. We have a lot of independent organization. It's about 56 nowadays, we think, but no one knows. We have a regulating body. This is a Ministry of Information and Social Development, but actually it doesn't regulate our activity. It tries to help us, but it's, you know, we don't have too much help from them. So we try to improve mediation by ourselves. Also, according to our legislation, there is no obligatory mediation. But the interesting thing that there is no obligatory mediation, but our courts they send people to mediation or to conciliate a judge, and they don't submit the case to the court before they send to parties to mediator. Also, settlement agreement can be enforced through the court order or executive inscription of a notary, but it should be also notarized if you want to get this inscription. But normally, if you want to enforce settlement agreement, then you have to file to the court and get the court order. So we have court mediation and out of court mediation, and the procedures are different. And for the out of court mediations, we have professional mediators, and also this social mediators. But actually, professional mediators don't like social mediators because social mediators, they don't get any education, and that's why we have a lot of frauds in this sphere, I so to say. And if we speak about out of court procedure for mediation, it's a very flexible procedure. So mediator decides himself how to conduct the mediation, but for instance, person calls me and say that that person has a case, problem case, and want to solve it by using mediation. So I can suggest to have first information meeting, and then we meet and we talk for about an hour, and then I can suggest to call another person by myself as a mediator, or to suggest person to call the other party and suggest mediation. And person decides what is better in its case, his case. And then when two parties agree to have mediation, then we conclude mediation agreement. This is mediation agreement. This is kind of agreement according to which I do my services. They pay me having this agreement, and they agree to have me as a mediator by signing this agreement. And after that, I can settle a joint meeting or separate meeting. It depends on parties' desire. If they want to have a joint meeting, then I settle joint meeting, and we have procedure. Like, it's classic, just like classically. But in practice, it happens more often when we have separate meetings. And also we work like on distance. We have online mediation. We also have telephone mediation, so I can talk to a party on the phone and settle some issues, then to call to another party, settle some issues. And when they have something close to each other, that when they're ready to conclude an agreement, when they agree on something, then I can suggest them to have settlement agreement, to sign it. If parties need settlement agreement, then me as mediator, I can draw up a settlement agreement by myself, and I also sign it. Parties sign the settlement agreement, and I sign this agreement. This is different from Europe or from United States, for instance. I know that in United States, mediators, they don't draw up a settlement agreement, and they don't sign it. They just mediate the case, and then their lawyers, they draw up settlement agreement. But here, mediators draw up settlement agreement and sign it. For me, I think this is a problem, because not all mediators have like law education, and not everyone knows how to draw up an agreement. But it's like this, according to our law. And yes, this is a procedure like this. So once they have settlement agreement, the mediation terminates, like ends. And in court, this is different procedure. When parties file lawsuit or case suit to the court, then court suggests to go to conciliator judge, and they give 10 days for this procedure. And in 10 days, they try to reconcile. But if the reconciliation wasn't successful, then the court will consider the case. However, the parties can conclude an agreement with the mediator, and then the case will be suspended for 30 days. In practice, mediation in courts in almost all matters is mandatory, as they ask you to go to the mediator. But when we suggest that this be written into the civil procedure court and marriage court, we met criticism from various government agencies. Like some members of working group believe that mediation shouldn't be made mandatory because it is contrary to the constitution. And others said that socially vulnerable segments of society will not be able to pay for the services of mediator. But I should say that when we talk about obligatory mediation, we are not talking about the fact that someone will force people to sign agreements. We offered a mandatory informational meeting with mediator, where the mediator will tell people for free about what mediation is, and mediation possibilities, and so on. So, but today it works like this. What else? What else?
The only problem that I'm facing is that I'm having something to drink and I can't ask you, what would you like to drink? So this is rude for me, but I can't help it. This is the way on the online world is. Yes. Yeah.
Let me join you. I'll drink water.
Yeah. But then, look, it feels very funny because here you are sitting there drinking something and the other person is there, but you can't offer. It just seems rude, but that's the way it is. Yeah.
No, it's okay. You know, we used to have these online meetings, and I feel like live meeting. That's fine.
Exactly. That feels like that. I'm telling you, it feels like a live meeting, and you want to ask, what would you like to have something?
We can have dinner together.
Yes, I think that's what has to happen.
After that, yes. So, as for duration of the mediation here in Kazakhstan, this is 30 calendar days, and it also can be extended for another 30 days. But you know, it's strange. Do you have like special duration for mediation in India?
Look, that's something which, I mean, nothing really provided. It is something which you can continue. So it's not really, I mean, there is a time limit. It is there, then you can extend it. It's there, but I don't want that time limit. That should not be there because it's their process. They should because things don't happen in a time duration. It's a process which can take time. So time duration for me is an issue. I mean, definitely it's an issue.
But is it something in your law?
It provides, there is a time factor there, and I think that let me give you that. I'll open it. I'll show you that how it's written. After you going on, I'll show you how it is
Okay.
provided there.
It's just interesting because I have told many times that it's unuseful to have any duration because for instance, once I had a mediation, and it lasted for it had been lasting for 30 calendar days. Like they didn't know what to do, they got some information and so on and so on, and 30 days have passed. Then I had to stop mediation. So I told them that I need to stop it according to our law, and I stopped. And next day they signed a new agreement on mediation, and we started one more time. So it can be as many times as they want. It's not prohibited.
Exactly.
So I don't see the reason to have duration.
Absolutely.
Yes. Also, what's interesting, rates are not regulated. Rates that we charge, they're not regulated by the law. Like, for instance, for notaries, they're regulated by the law. For mediators, rates are not regulated. So anyone can charge as much as he can. And also, it's a pity for us, but we don't have any statistics on mediation, because as I said, that we have different organizations, a lot of organizations. No one files any reports to the ministry, so we just don't know how many mediations professional mediators do. And if we speak about court mediation, then it's more interesting because they have statistics, of course. And for instance, in 2022, they had 521,000 cases in the court, and 37,000 were finished with mediation. So it's 13.8% of cases.
But these are the ones which were in the court.
In the court, yes.
And of course, outside, like you said, there is no such statistic available, so we don't know. But
yes,
but if the feeling that you're getting is that, are there lots of mediations happening? I mean, what is the general sense that because you people mediators definitely meet and talk about it? What is the general feeling happening?
Sorry.
I mean, you of course within your mediators, you obviously have conversations about how many mediations are happening. So do you get a feeling that lots of mediations are happening? I mean, how many do you have? How many mediators do you have total? The professional ones?
Professional mediators. We have something about 56 organizations, but I don't know how many mediators, because each organization has in its register a lot of mediators. And the number changed every day. Someone stopped working, then new mediators appear. So it's changes. And what else? We also have our statistics in our organizations. But I don't have statistic for my organization because the year just started, and we have statistic at by the end of the year, and now I don't have. I also follow my statistic, but I also can tell you my figure because I didn't count it. So
No,
but
in general, I mean, do you feel that, I mean, in terms of the number of mediators who are practicing as professional mediators, do they have enough work to be full-time mediators?
Actually, no. What I hear from our professional mediators that everyone has another job, like lawyer, advocate, notary, or someone else. But the biggest part of mediators are lawyers. So they work as a lawyer, and then when they have case, they mediate it. And myself, I work as mediator only, but I also work as a teacher, as a trainer. So I can get money from different type of activities, but I work only in mediation sphere. Yes, and other mediators, they don't have enough mediations just to live, to have enough money. So it's like this.
That's the criteria. I mean, I would look at that being the criteria, that how many full-time mediators do we have in the country? Because of course, I mean, in a way, that's the success of mediation in terms of developing in the country. I think that's something gives you an indicator. Gives you an indicator that in terms of numbers, what's really happening. Because if it's not happening, then what are the reasons? Because I mean, we are talking about legislation, so is legislation coming in the way in any way? So that's something that we would look at. If it is popularity because of other reasons, because that process also should keep happening at the same time. Because finally, if it's not being used, what is really happening? Are they not being able to connect to the process? They're not being able to connect to the mediators. So is that is got something to do with the training that they go through? Is that not connecting with them? Which is what I started off, that who did the training and what is it that the mediator picked up from there? Is it really working? I mean, if you've kept that kind of a box which doesn't even connect with the people, and the way you go about it is not something that they feel comfortable with or whatever, because certain restraints are put into mediators in training, which otherwise they might not have on a natural basis. So that, I think, somewhere affects the process. And that can also be, I mean, I'm just saying, what are the reasons? There could be various reasons, but we should keep looking at it, because if we don't, we'll go on doing the same thing over and over again. The same trainings will happen. Everything, the structure will be the same, and nothing will happen. I mean, thoughts which Ruzanna, of course, will take up because she's an academic person. So,
yes, thank you. just some things to add about our legislation, as we have spoken about out of court mediation. So some things about court mediation. We, as I said before, conciliator judge don't have to study to be mediator. He can be mediator just because he born to be mediator. So what's interesting, we receive refund of the state duty if we have mediation at the court. And also this is a problem for us because a lot of people go to the court to have free mediation. You see, they file their case to the court, they pay state duty, then they go to reconciliate a judge, conclude settlement agreement, and get the refund of their state duty. So this is for free. And that's why mediation is not so popular around professional mediators. Also, I told you that we have suspension of the case for 10 days at the court. If parties want to have meeting with a reconciliator judge, and 30 days if they want to have a meeting with not meeting but mediation with professional mediator. Yes, mediation is free of charge. What else? Maybe you have any issues, because so many things I tried to tell you about it, but maybe I just missed something.
So again, with the conciliator judges, how is that process really happening? I mean, you look at it as mediation, or is it still something because the judges have this tendency to really push something on them? One is suggesting. Okay, I'm okay with suggesting, but is the atmosphere such that, oh, this is the way you should do it, and in a way that authoritative kind of thing? Is it like that? I mean, have you sat through one of these? I'm sure you sat through one of these conciliator judges, how they work.
Actually, I've never visited conciliator judge, thanks God, but I heard from parties, and some parties who came to me for mediation after a court, they told me that conciliator judge pushed them, and that's why they refused to have mediation with conciliator judge, and they decided to go to professional mediator. And there are a lot of such stories here in our sphere around professional mediators, that judges pushing parties. And a week ago, I had a meeting with a judge who work in conciliator center here. We have a kind of conciliator center, which was opened by a court. And all the cases which goes to the court, they first go to this conciliator center. And so I have conversation with the judge, and she was telling me about her practice, like how they conduct mediations. And several times I heard from her that this is difficult for her not to push parties. She said that I tried to be sorry, just the word flew out of my mind. Just hold on for a second. Neutral. Sometimes it happens. So she said that I tried to be neutral, but when the man started saying like bollocks, something like that, which was not according to the law, she said I couldn't be neutral because it was according to the law, and I should say that it's not good, and you should do this, and you should follow this, and so on and so forth. And I understand them. They used to work judges. They used to take decisions. They used to say people what to do. So I think that our judges, conciliators, they're not real mediators. They can be neutral because they always see these unfair things, untrue things, or something like that. And if something is unfair, they cannot cannot afford it.
Well,
Maybe.
but Ruzanna, you have to the symposium on neutrality and mediation. We actually had a discussion on this because the Bernie Mayer's book is on this, the neutrality trap, and in relation to social change and all, whether a mediator should be neutral or not. So there's a whole debate on that. That part of it is one thing, being neutral in that sense, but to push something on them, I think that's definitely an issue. Which, I mean, these are things which we, like I said, we keep looking at and seeing where the issues are and changing things, because the judge conciliators and free, these are two things which are coming out from it, which are an issue. So legislation should definitely start taking care of this, because the word that will go around is, that's what mediation is. Someone pushes something on you, and if they go back and tell other people, they are going to stay away from it, because no one wants to be pushed, and it becomes a pressure. I mean, you're trying to discuss something and someone else is trying to push their whatever they feel is the right solution, and so that, I think, can go against the process. So I think these are things. Free definitely has to be looked at. Like you said, you come into the court system, you get free. Of course, this is now whether that's really mediation or not, but the judge can go to a judge conciliator, get a settlement, get your refund of your fees, and that's it. Then nothing paid. State is paying for your dispute, and the taxpayer is paying for your dispute. That's where the issue lies.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So,
Totally agree.
so those things definitely need to be looked at. But I'm saying, but these organizations that you've got, these mediation organizations, what is really happening? I mean, these are just people coming together and creating a mediation organization, or the mediation centers. I mean, you have mediation centers also.
This is practically the same. I mean, we have this conciliator center, and it has nothing to do with mediation organizations. This mediation center, this is belongs to the court. And other mediation organizations, yes, as you said, people just join together. They open an organization and start working, like teaching. Um, we need to have organization only if we want to teach, to train mediators. So like, for instance, my organization, the director and the owner of the organization, she opened it in 2016, as far as I remember. And because she was a trainer of mediators, and she wanted to train mediators, that's why she opened the organization. This is the only reason. And then she invited me to be a director of her center. And also, when we train mediators, we put them to our register, and they belong to our center. And for instance, if a person had problems, or maybe mediator didn't do good mediation, or some things like what anything, then a person can file or can address to our organization a complaint. And but actually we don't have don't have any real punishment for mediators. If we receive complaint, the only thing that we can do just to stop the activity of the mediator and to remove him from our register. So, and if the mediator is not in the register, he cannot work, he cannot do any activities, but he can go to another organization and say, hey, I want to be mediator of your organization, I love it. And they don't have opportunity to check what history he has before. Yes. So they just put this mediator into their register, and he starts working. That's it. This is also our problem. This is a gap in our legislation, a big gap, and we actually we know how, we have ideas how to fix it, but we need to change a lot of things in our legislation to fix this problem. And we also need to have one joint organization who is responsible for these complaints. We will need to have like a body of body with several people who will be responsible for these complaints, and who will see like a small court for mediators. Yes. I don't know how to explain it, but I think you understood it.
Some kind of a, you're saying some kind of a council that people are looking at, mediation council developing.
Right.
That needs to be discussed. I mean, that really needs to be discussed, because I mean, I don't know, in terms of malpractice of mediators, how do you get into it? How do you really investigate into it when someone comes and puts a complaint against someone? Now, what, I mean, is there any evidence? Because who's going to give evidence except that person? The other person, the other participant in that mediation, is that person going to say that, yes, this was something that happened? They're not going to say it. Mediator is definitely not going to say it. It's going to become an issue how you take it up, because I don't know. This is something that needs to be debated. I think it can go both ways. It can go both ways, that in a certain mediation, you suddenly find out, oh, you agreed to something, and you then look back and say, how do I challenge this? So one way would be just put an allegation on the mediator. That'd be an easy thing to do. Where there's no one who's going to be able to prove it, and that becomes a reason maybe to get out of a settlement agreement. So those are things which will come up, because otherwise settlement agreement is binding on you. It's enforceable as a court decree in places. So that's one. I mean, these are thoughts which you have to put, because the standards part of it, what standards are applicable to, like, of course, you've ratified the Singapore Convention. So a little bit on that, Ruzanna, on the ratification of the Singapore Convention, that experience, although you've spoken about it in the World Mediators Conference, but a little briefly, if you want to take that.
I just remembered one story about a complaint, and that was interesting, and it also about judges, that that I told you that judge can be a mediator. So we had in our organization in the register the judge who retired, or maybe just she finished her activities as a judge and decided to be mediator. I just don't remember. But we had a complaint from a party, yes, from party, and the party's case were already in the court. And what happened? She, as a mediator, concluded settlement agreement between two parties, and this was about the division of property, something like that. And then several months after the concluding of the settlement agreement, one party decided to cancel, yes, to cancel this mediation agreement, not settlement agreement. But she, as a mediator, should tell the party that it's impossible to cancel mediation agreement. If you want to cancel it, then you need to call another party and just suggest to change the settlement agreement or to cancel it. And if party refuses, then it's impossible. You can try to go to the court and try to cancel it in the court, but it's also practically impossible, because you have to have like evidences that or something like that you can cancel it. So and this mediator, the judge in previous life, she didn't tell anything about it, and party came to her and said, I want to cancel. And she said, okay, we can cancel it. And she gave a new document saying this mediation, this settlement agreement was canceled. That's it. It's funny. And this person came to the court and said, so I have canceled agreement and I want to start a case. And court filed it and take it, started the case. And but another party, she didn't know about it. She just were sure that she has settlement agreement and everything is fine and her rights won't be wounded like this. So you see what, and then when all this happened, a complaint came to our center. And what could I do as a director? I just said that I like stopped her mediation rights in our center. And I wrote a letter that that was not according to the law, and that's it. And I don't know if she works now or not. And I believe she works. Maybe she even opened her own organization because it's not prohibited. So this is like this. Oh, I see you have a new guest and you even
Yes.
didn't have a gap one more time.
But the only thing with Jonathan is he's from the UK, but he's very close to where you are. He's in Uzbekistan right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
For a
cool.
visit, for a visit. He hasn't moved there yet, but I'm sure he's enjoying the place. So maybe he might. But before he comes in, Ruzanna, one, of course, you have to give a little concluding kind of thing. But briefly, anything to do with the Singapore Convention? Anything you want to talk about that? Because you have seen it, that whole ratification process going on. Anything on that? Any comments?
You mean what book convention?
The Singapore Convention, because you
Ah,
ratified it. So yeah.
Uh, actually, I even didn't hear anything or any cases because as we had conversation on Singapore Convention with you, yes, and I said that nothing has changed for Kazakhstan with signing of this convention because our law never prohibited any mediation with other countries. So, and if we have mediation with other country, it still can be filed to our court. It doesn't matter, do we have this convention or not. So we just ratified it and we have it and we still work and live like we did it before.
No, but I'm just thinking if settlement agreements, if you say in your existing law was there, wouldn't this aspect come in that mediator is not certified according to what is required in Kazakhstan, so the settlement agreement can't be enforced like a court decree? Is that something which would have come up in between in that sense?
uh,
If the
uh,
Singapore Convention wasn't ratified?
we didn't change our or didn't amend our law when we ratified the Singapore Convention. So it's general rule that mediators should be certified, should be in the register, and should have tax registration. So if mediator doesn't have any of this, then it's prohibited to conduct mediation. Then of course this settlement agreement cannot be filed to the court.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's according to Singapore Convention or not.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something which I think we have to separately discuss with. I think we'll discuss it with Jonathan. The global aspect of it, that do we need to restrict the mediators in a country? Why do we not have a global pool? Anyone, anywhere mediates with anyone because it's their process. They trust anyone. That should be enforceable in any country, Singapore Convention or not. That's another debate we should have. So, Ruzanna, any concluding remarks? Anything that you want to conclude on?
Okay, thank you very much for your YouTube channel and for the opportunity to talk to you. I'm sorry that I always refuse, but it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, and times run so fast. I even didn't notice this hour. And thank you very much. Have a good day and good meetings. And Jonathan, I wish you good luck
Good
with
luck.
me, Vikram.
Thank you from Samarkand.
He's
Oh,
in.
great. It must be warm there.
It is. It's lovely. Blue sky.
Great, great. And we have snow. It's been snowing for 4 days, and we haven't seen so many snow for the whole winter. Crazy.
Right.
Yeah, but
So,
yeah. So anyway, there is a workshop today, 6:30 onwards. Please drop in whatever time you get. Just come in, right? Okay.
okay. Thank you.
See
Bye
you,
bye.
Ruzanna. Always a pleasure. Lovely speaking to you.